Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new week, new edition of Houston Sports Weekly, our weekly sports podcast. You can check it out on KPRC2+. Click to Houston.com. Randy McAvoy, Ari Alexander with you this week. Next, 26 minutes. Got a couple of segments. We'll get some Astros talk in segment 2, but we wanted to start segment 1 fresh off the Texans preseason opener. If you weren't able to watch it last night, Texans beat the Patriots 20-9 to get this preseason off and running. All eyes, Ari, on C.J. Stroud. He got the start. He wasn't in there long, though. I thought he was actually going to play a little bit longer than 2 series. You blink and he was out. Not a great opening night. Had the interception, but it's a step. You got to get him out there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good. I did want to see him play more. I don't think you can evaluate. We went like 2 for 4 and threw a pick. That's just not enough time to evaluate what he can do thrown out there for a couple of series. Davis Mills looked good, which for someone who has been in the league for a couple of years, you sort of expect that he can go in there and know how to command a huddle in an NFL preseason game. But the star of the night was not second overall pick C.J. Stroud, wasn't third overall pick Will Anderson, who actually played pretty well on the defensive end. Yeah. It was Tank Dell, who might be one of the smallest wide receivers in the league, and I think every time he does something, we've known what he can do in Houston, see him at the University of Houston, and he went to the Senior Bowl, and everyone's like, whoa, this guy's really good. And he gets drafted, and then everyone's like, oh, well, he's tiny, the Texans got him, local hometown kid, we'll see. And then he does this, and again, everyone, whoa. He's pretty good.
Good route runner, got open, made plays, looked really comfortable out there. I mean, he'd make catch, take a hit, get right up. I mean, he didn't look like, I know he's a rookie, but he didn't look like it Thursday night, and looked really comfortable in this offense. Finished with 5 catches for 65 yards, so not a bad start at all. You mentioned Mills. Case Keenum came in and was the veteran that everybody knows he is as well. But we'll see. Next week's going to be interesting because the Dolphins are coming in. And I like watching the joint workouts because they're going head-to-head with somebody else. So I'm really looking forward to next Wednesday and Thursday, watching Stroud put in the work and some of these other guys as well against these Dolphins. But defensively, not bad. Defense, I think, produced 3 sacks, held the Patriots like 3 of 12 on third down. So, I mean, a lot of work to do. There's no doubt D'Amico Ryans addressed it after the game, but he was really high on Tank. And he said, players, coaches, we got to just roll up our sleeves, get back after this weekend.
From a score standpoint, I don't see that game looking all that different from what we're going to see in the regular season. I think there's going to be a decent amount of low-scoring games. Yeah. CJ is going to be learning. I don't know how crisp the offense is going to be at times, but it looks like the defense is pretty good. They have a handful of players who can make plays. The D-line's getting pass rush. They can stop the run a little bit. The linebackers are where I think they're going to have some trouble figuring out, mix and match who the guys are to play. Secondary's solid, and the defensive line has looked pretty good.
Yeah, they'll play more as this preseason goes on. All right, for next few minutes, we're going to play a little bit of the post game that came in from Foxborough. Let's listen in now to D'Amico Ryans, some of his comments and others there from the podium at Foxborough.
Thought he moved around well. Went to the right place with the ball a couple times, and it was good to see him move out of the pocket and try to make some things happen there. We know we have some things to clean up front. I don't want him having to move as much, but we all have things to clean up and get better at. But I thought it was a good first outing, good look at live action, so I thought it was good for him. It was good to see Tank make some plays. We've seen him make a lot of plays throughout training camp, some of these same plays, so it was good to see him do the same thing here, in a game. So he can be an explosive playmaker for us, and we look forward to him continue to make some of those plays. With the interception there, I think Mills made a really nice play. Veteran player made a nice play. We probably were a little late there with the ball, and it was a good learning lesson. And that's why we do, preseason. That's why it's important to get live game reps so you can see, how can you come out and improve? Where can you improve? What do I need to do different next time on those certain plays? And, of course, offensively, we want to be in position to take care of the ball better. All right, that's our number one thing. We have to protect the ball, and to have 2 tonight, that's not what we strive for. And defensively, we have to pick it up to take the ball away more as well. And as a team, just as we operate, the communication, everything that we're doing, I think it was a good start for us, good first run with coaching, players, everybody working together. I thought it was a good first start, but we can always continue to improve. And with our offensive line, it's just going back to work, right? We go back on the practice field and we get right back at it, right? And each day it's striving to improve on your past performance. So we just get back to work. There's nothing else to it. You got to put the work in to get better, and we will get better there. We thought it would be a possibility for him to come in at quarterback. Cunningham's a really good athlete. Made some nice plays there at the end, running the ball. So it's really dynamic playmaker there at quarterback. Beck will be fine. He banged his knee up a little bit, but we'll get further tests. But as of right now, it looks like he'll be fine. The defense did a good job of swarming. I like the way we responded on sudden change opportunities. Right? We want to make sure we make their offense kick the ball there, and we did. Guys stood up, guys stood out and made plays, and it was fun to see our defense and the way they attacked there. That's the type of style that we want to play. Right, I think our offense continued to get better as the game went on. We ran the ball well later in the game, and we still have things to improve on. But for the first outing, I thought it was a good performance by our offense overall. Right, the way Davis drove down on the half to end that first half with a score there to tank. I thought it was really good to see them operate in 2 minutes, something we've been working on in practice. So it's good to see him come out and just be efficient. Henry was steady, just as he's been all training camp. The moment wasn't too big for him. He did a really good job of communicating, and he made a few plays there. So excited to see his growth moving forward.
To be able to go out my first NFL stadium, first NFL game, and there's a lot of things that I've been through to just get to that moment. So it was just special. Of course, just wish I didn't do one mistake on one certain play, but other than that, thought I played solid. It felt good to get hit again, and just get back in the groove. I just think that preseason, that's what preseason is for. It's important just to get back and put your feet back in the water. So I'm not super excited how I played. Didn't get to play a lot, but just get my feet in the water, learn from my mistakes, and just keep growing. Trust my eyes. I seen a certain look to where I knew in film that they could run that to where the safety, if his man blocks, that he'll come off and really be locked into my eyes, and just lost track of that and just forced it. Should have just checked it down to Dalton, but it was a great play by Tube. I kind of just hiding out. He kind of was ducking low, so didn't really see him. Thought I threw a good pass, but of course it wasn't. So hell of a play by number 2, and just put that in my back pocket and learn from it. So it's about accountability, just being accountable for myself and my mistake, and learning from that. That's honestly what been OTAs and camp for me. I've thrown a couple interceptions and I've thrown a couple touchdowns, and you don't ever want to ride the highs or ride the lows. You want to just stay even kill. So that's what I plan to do, is just learn from everything, learn from the good and the bad. And I have a bunch of vets in there that help me every day with that type of stuff, and all of them have nothing but great things to say. Say I handled it well. It's not easy to come to New England as a rookie and go in there and try to execute, but they felt like I did a decent job at that, so I just got to keep growing.
All right, some reaction from the ball game in Foxborough on Thursday night. Texans, again, winners 20-9. You heard the comments. They're back in town. They'll take a day off and then get back at it this weekend. Back to the camp routine, and then next week the Dolphins come in. But it's just good to see football back. Last night, across the league, several games being played, including Texans and Patriots.
Yeah, even if it's preseason. I mean, the first week, that Hall of Fame game, apparently the ratings were just like insane just because everyone missed NFL football. And even though the first 2 series matter and then everything else is guys that are fighting for a roster spot or players that most people have never heard of unless you're like a degenerate gambler. But people are still watching. And even just like having it on in the background, just like nice to have football on.
Good to see it in action in Foxborough. Good start to D'Amico Ryans. First week as head coach. Of course, they really count in the regular season, but he said a win's a win. It's a good feeling as they bring it back to Houston and hopefully build on that preseason win, again, 20-9 over the Patriots. So, all right, that's some the latest on the Texans after their win on Thursday night against New England. Coming up on Houston Sports Weekly, we're going to segue a little bit, talk some Astros, because they're back home from that road trip to New York and Baltimore, a winning road trip, and they're back home just briefly, 3 games this weekend against the Angels. We'll talk Astros baseball when Houston Sports Weekly returns. Stick around. And welcome back to Houston Sports Weekly. If you're tuning in or listening, our weekly sports podcast here on KPRC2 Plus and click2Houston.com. Good first segment talking about the Texans and their preseason opener last night. If you're listening or watching right now on Friday, they played last night in Foxborough, one game down in the D'Amico Ryans era. We broke that down in segment one, but the second segment, Ari, let's segue into the Astros. It's been a big week. New York for 4 into Baltimore. They come back they split in New York, won the series in Baltimore, nearly swept the Orioles, just falling short on Thursday. And now they're just back home for 3. But they're 116 games down, 46 to go. They're only 2.5 back. They're in really good shape right now.
Yeah, it's a good sign to see what they were able to do against the Orioles. The Orioles have the best record in the American League right now, and they're not necessarily a team that I'm worried about in the playoffs, partially due to the fact that they haven't been good for years. They've never seen playoff baseball with this current group.
Right.
And from a pitching staff standpoint, you're lining up probably Framber Valdez, Justin Verlander, Christian Javier, guys that have a lot of playoff experience pitching against Jack Flaherty, Dean Kramer. I don't even know who else is in that. Grayson Rodriguez pitched. He's a guy that I think might be, when it's all said and done, the best pitcher on the Orioles. He's a top prospect who's kind of getting it going, but he's a rookie. And in a playoff series situation, and I know that this was still regular season, but you sort of treat it as a big series for the Astros. They're playing one of the best teams in the AL. It's a big series for the Orioles because they're sort of using the Astros as a measuring stick of how good are we against the defending champs.
Right.
And the Astros came out on top. They beat their closer. Felix Bautista is firmly in the Cy Young race. He's been the best closer in baseball all year, and Kyle Tucker hit a grand slam off him. Yeah. He had trouble again.
What a great moment that was, man.
Yeah, he had trouble again on Thursday. Bautista has been dominant. He strikes out half the hitters he faces, and the Astros were able to get to him. And then from a pitching staff standpoint, they just don't have the horses. The Orioles don't, and the Astros showed that in a playoff series, I have no faith in the Baltimore Orioles against Houston.
Yeah. So, they made a run in that ninth inning. They cut it to, 5-4, and then Yainer Diaz, that almost got through the left field. That would have tied the game, and their third baseman got a glove on it. That saved them, really. And John Singleton had the final out in that ninth inning. But you come back still with confidence after getting the split in New York and then winning that series. Now you got to come home and take care of business. To me, that's been one of the disappointments of the Astros, just the lack of domination at Minute Maid Park this year. And these last, 40-plus games, I don't know how many are at home, but, man, you've got to find a way to take it from here to here at home and just take care of business at Minute Maid. They've lost way too many at home this year.
Yeah, and I think this is where the Justin Verlander trade is going to have wide-reaching implications because now you can move to a six-man rotation. Whatever fatigue wall that Christian Javier hit, you're hoping goes down because he's now getting an extra day of rest. JP France is a rookie who's never, come close to pitching this many innings, especially just the high leverage of being a major league ball player versus working on the things that you need to work on in the minors. He's going to get an extra day of rest. Hunter Brown has never pitched this many innings, going to get an extra day of rest. Jose Urquidy's coming back from an injury, going to get an extra day of rest. Justin Verlander's 40, going to get an extra day of rest, right? And so having 6 reliable guys, I think, is going to help them over these last couple months of the season because the pitchers are just going to be a little bit fresher. The stuff may be a little bit crisper, but you hope if you have 6 starters, that means you have one less bullpen arm. Can you get Rafael Montero going? Can you fix Phil Maton? Can you fix Ryan Stanek? Can you get these guys in a consistent rhythm?
You mentioned Montero. I heard a stat, last 17 innings, maybe something like that. He's only allowed 7 hits. So in that small sample size, he's starting to regain his form a little bit. And it took a while. It's been a rough year for Montero, but maybe he can now build off of this in the month of August and into September.
Yeah, because conceivably, the whole season has gone on where the Astros have figured out, before they made the trade for Graveman, they have 4 relievers they can trust. Presley, Abreu, Neris, Maton. And Maton's been struggling. Last year, Ryan Stanek set an Astros franchise record for ERA. Last year, Rafael Montero was one of the best setup men in the game. And then you had Kendall Graveman, who was a high-leverage reliever for the Astros in 2021. So conceivably, all 7 of your bullpen pitchers are guys you should be able to trust.
Yep.
They have all shown at different parts of their career recently, within the last year or 2 years ago, that they can be high-leverage relievers. So if you can, and it's near impossible to get 7 guys going all at the same time, but all 7 have shown that they can give high-leverage innings. So if you can somehow get all 7 of them going or 6 of them going where you can mix and match and not have to go Neris, Abreu, Presley every 7, 8, 9. I think that is going to help when you reach the playoffs.
All right, Angels are in town starting tonight. Again, if you're listening on Friday, through the weekend, just 3-game homestand for the Astros. It's going to be Verlander making his return to Minute Maid Park tonight. So he'll get the start against the Angels. You got J.P. France on Saturday in that national TV game, and then Urquidy in that Sunday game. Kind of rough return for Jose Urquidy, and kind of a rough finish in his rehab start. He got roughed up pretty good in his last start. I think it was with Corpus Christi Hooks by the San Antonio Double-A team. That kind of carried over into his return as well. Hopefully, he can get it rolling. Yeah,
I mean, he's a guy that doesn't have the best velocity. Just the spin rates and things like that have been going down since he was a rookie in 2019, since he had that good year last year. The injury obviously hasn't helped, but right now he's probably the number 6 guy out of those 6. JP France wasn't necessarily supposed to be in the majors at any point this year, but he's got a sub-3 ERA as a starter in half a season's worth of work. This is no longer a fluke.
It's been a great story.
He's seen half a season of work, and he's been excellent all season long, and you got to rely on him at this point. At this point, you trust JP France to give you good innings. I don't know what we have with Jose Urquidy, and he's going to have to figure it out, because if Urquidy does not start to turn a corner by maybe mid-September, there's no reason for him to be on the playoff roster.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk about some players now, just random players, kind of what we're seeing out of these guys. Let's start with Kyle Tucker. I mean, great road trip. Dana Brown came out the other day on Sports Talk 790. He was convinced, hey, we're going to get it done. He's going to be an Astro rest of his career. Great GM speak, but there's that other side of Tucker's with his representation. And let's talk about what it's going to take to make this happen in the offseason for Tucker.
Well, it's going to take a Astros franchise record in years extension, which is 6 that they gave to Yordan Alvarez at $115 million. It's going to take an Astros franchise record money-wise, with the record is $151 to Jose Altuve in that 5-year extension they gave him. Both of those are going to have to be shattered because Kyle Tucker is 26. Kyle Tucker hits free agency at 29. The 2 contracts I'm looking at to compare Kyle Tucker to, they're both right fielders. I'm looking at Aaron Judge, the 9-year, $360 million deal he received from the Yankees starting his age 31 season. I'm looking at Chris Bryant, the 7-year, $182 million deal he received from the Rockies starting his age 30 season. Tucker's deal
right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Tucker's deal starts his age 29 season. Probably actually goes up just because of the inflation of baseball contracts. So you're now looking at a 29-year-old Kyle Tucker. Let's say the Astros are out of it, right? And just open market Kyle Tucker. 10-year deal, $280 to $300 million. So we're looking at 20.
You think he can get that much?
Yes.
Close to $300 million.
Because look at Judge is 360. He's not getting as much as Judge. He is 2 years younger than Judge. He's a year younger than Chris Bryant. And based on what he's doing in his career, he is a MVP candidate. He's not going to win because of Ohtani.
Yeah.
But he's received MVP votes in 2021, 2022. He's going to get MVP votes this year.
And he's a Gold Glover.
Gold Glover, 2-time All-Star. He'll be 29. Prime of his career. So you are getting 4 or 5 years of excellent Kyle Tucker production that you obviously have to pay on the back end if you're a team.
And I got a little bit of a chuckle out of, and again, Dana Brown was speaking the total GM language there. Hey, he wants to be, and he might want to be here, but it's business.
Yeah.
You're going to go where the deal is. You're going to go where the money is, no doubt about it. He's a Florida guy. I don't really think it'll work out that way, but that direction. But I know he is comfortable here in Houston, of course, has a name here and a part of the organization, but it's going to come down to will Jim Crane commit?
Yeah, and
he just hasn't very rarely,
no.
Only a handful of cases, as you mentioned.
And there are some advantages that he had in those other deals, the Yordan Alvarez deal, where Yordan's one of the best hitters in baseball, but remember when he signed that extension, he's coming off some injuries. He's got the knee issues. They had to scope out his knee. And so that's sort of an advantage that the Astros have of we can price down Yordan Alvarez because there might be some injury concern there. Jose Altuve plays a non-premium position at second base. So even though the contract was huge, he makes $30 million a year, that prices him down a bit. Kyle Tucker is not priced down in any way. He is an outfielder. He plays a premium position in right field. Right. He runs. He hits for power. He hits for average. He does absolutely everything, and he is now in the prime of his career.
Yep.
And so for an extension to make sense, it needs to do one of two things. It either needs to be short enough to give Kyle Tucker a chance at a 9-10-year deal after it, or it needs to be long enough to give him the security to take him through his full prime, say through age 36. Yeah. So if they want to do an extension next year, before next season, which would be his age 27 season, it needs to be a 9-year deal in the $240-250 million range.
And to make sure everything's clear now, and it's my understanding too, the Astros have control of Tucker, I believe, for the next 2 years.
2 years.
So they don't have to get a deal done, but I think it would be in their best interest. Let's just get at the table here in the offseason.
If you can buy out his free agent years, so let's say 7 free agent years at $27-28 million, knowing that when he hits open market, there's a chance that he's going $28-30 million per free agent year, and that contract needs to be extended into his age 38, 39, 40 seasons. Why not buy out that year and you take him to age 35, 36? And yes, it would shatter. 9-year deal, 240, 250 is roughly where I'm looking at.
All right. That is Kyle Tucker. He is certainly the numbers rising over as this season progresses, coming through clutch. That grand slam, probably one of the best moments of the season so far for the Astros as they beat the Orioles. All right, we got a few more minutes here before we wrap it up. So about Alex Bregman, the job he's doing too. He's showing signs, and you look back since the All-Star break, he's hitting around 290. OPS, I think, is over 800. I mean, he's playing great defense too. So he's really coming into his own here in the final stretch of the season.
Yeah, he's a guy that almost to the point where it's become underrated, that he's played great for a month and a half, 2 months now, doesn't get a whole lot of love. Kyle Tucker's been getting a ton of the attention. Jordan is now back from his injury. He gets a lot of the attention. There are players that have been getting negative attention for how they've been playing, and Bregman just kind of comes in, does his work, plays excellent defense, has been hitting better. He's bounced around different spots in the lineup, can hit 2, 3, 4, 5. And
steady.
Yeah, and he's a guy that you don't want to face in a pressure situation as a pitcher because he's just not going to swing at anything out of the zone.
Yeah, and he's money when it comes to postseason too. For the most part, he's just over these years
when he doesn't have a broken wrist.
Yeah, when they keep the wrist healthy for sure. Jeremy Pena, your guy,
my guy.
It's been a struggle for most of the year, but small sample size. Let's say the last 10 days or so, he's 7 for his last 21. Had a 3-hit game, I think, one night against Baltimore. So here's another guy that now is starting to turn the corner after a rough start to this season. It'd be nice to get his bat going consistently.
Yeah, there are metrics that are in his favor. There are metrics that are against his favor. He's not hitting the ball as hard this year. He's walking more. He's striking out a little less. They're small.
Yeah.
But the big story with Pena on the bat was this is a guy that strikes out a ton, the guy that never walks. And so if he is making marginal improvements, walking a little more, striking out a bit less, that'll help. You hope that the power comes back, the batted ball contact comes back. He's not barreling the ball up as much. Some of it may be mental, where he's just a little behind on the fastball, ahead on the breaking stuff. I think long-term he'll be fine.
Although his strikeout number may be down, I still feel like he strikes out too much, man. He chases a lot.
He does.
Thursday was an example of an at-bat, his last at-bat, I think, of the game, way out of the strike zone and went after it, chased it. So just a little more disciplined at the plate, and I'm glad the number is going down.
It's just slightly. It's just not. Yeah, I mean, it's not a drastic improvement. Yeah. It's a slight improvement. And this is his second year. There are holes in his swing. There are things he needs to fix. There are times he looks great at the plate. There are times he doesn't.
Right.
The good thing is you get a baseline from him because he plays excellent defense.
All right. Before we wrap it up, let's talk about what's ahead for the Astros again. Kind of a weird schedule. They're coming back for 3 after going to New York and then Baltimore. Coming back for just this weekend against the Angels for 3, and then they're back out on the road, but for only 3 games, going to Miami. Miami's one of those pesky
sneaky
teams
good
too.
teams.
Yeah, you got to be careful down there. And then they're going to come right back home against Seattle and Boston. So I think this is not the Astros season like we've seen the last few, where they've run away with things in the AL West. They're in it right now. And Justin Verlander made a good point at his press conference in New York on the very subject, like, hey, maybe it's good for us to jump in and be in a tight race where we don't get too comfortable in the last part of the season, where we're focused and locked in every day.
I mean, maybe, but I also think it helps when you can rest guys and you have a 10-game division lead. Plus, do the Astros really need more high-leverage games? They've played in the playoffs for like 6 straight high-leverage games constantly for 6 years. I don't think they necessarily need any more of that.
Well, we'll see. I think they got 3 more with the Rangers, I believe, or is it 6? Okay, so 1 more series with the Rangers. Hopefully we'll get a Scherzer-Verlander matchup. That'd be outstanding. Is that one in Arlington, by the way?
Tee off on Scherzer?
I think it might be in Arlington. So anyway, so that's the latest on the Astros. Again, go out and support them. Justin Verlander on the mound coming up tonight. And then J.P. France and Jose Urquidy round up the weekend before they hit the road again. So, hey, it's been a fun Houston Sports Weekly. A good segment on the Texans. So the preseason off and running for those guys. And the Miami Dolphins will come in. They'll play the Texans next Saturday. They'll have a couple of days of joint workouts. And then after that, it'll be on to New Orleans. And they'll have joint workouts with the Saints as well. And, man, we're inching closer to get this season off and running. So, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to another week, another edition of Houston Sports Weekly, our weekly podcast. As always, on click2houston.com and KPRC2+. Have a great weekend, and we will do it again next week here on Houston Sports Weekly.